Martha Brown was brewing coffee in her sun-drenched kitchen, just as she always did. She maintained her early rising habits from her days as an elementary school teacher. Though it had been 2 years since her retirement, her disciplined daily routine remained unchanged. Martha glanced at the flower bed visible through the window, thinking she ought to water it today. As she watched a red cardinal land on the birdhouse, she smiled quietly. "Good morning, Grandma." Turning toward the energetic voice that suddenly burst into the kitchen, there stood Noah with his arms wide open, dressed in his pajamas. Martha couldn't help but smile. The 4-year-old's light brown hair was tousled from sleep, but his big blue eyes already sparkled with anticipation for adventure. "Good morning, little astronaut. Which planets are you exploring today?" Martha asked as she lifted her grandson. "Mars. And the moon. And that. Saturn." "Yes. Saturn. The one with the rings." Noah clapped his hands happily. Martha sat Noah in his high chair and began making pancakes for breakfast. She watched her grandson 3 days a week when her daughter Olivia worked early shifts at the hospital. Olivia worked as a nurse at the local general hospital, particularly passionate about her work in the pediatric ward. The sound of footsteps coming down the stairs announced Olivia's arrival, dressed in her nurse's uniform. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail. "Good morning, Mom. You made breakfast again." "Thank you so much, as always." Olivia kissed Martha's cheek. She quickly poured coffee into a mug and stroked her son's head. "Being good this morning. Not causing Grandma any trouble. I'm going to be an astronaut," Noah proudly declared. "Yes, I'm sure you will be," Olivia smiled gently, though Martha noticed the tiredness in her eyes. "Mom, has Thomas come home yet?" Martha answered while flipping a pancake. "He came in late last night. I heard his car pull up around 1 in the morning. He should be sleeping in the guest room upstairs." Olivia's expression clouded momentarily. "Probably another problem at the site. He's been so busy lately." Thomas was Olivia's husband and worked as a site supervisor for a local construction company. He had married Olivia 3 years ago. A tall, broad-shouldered man, he had earned Martha's trust with his serious personality and diligence. At least until recently. "It must be difficult for him," Martha offered words of comfort, seeing her daughter's troubled expression. "Construction sites often don't go according to schedule, and he's in a position of responsibility." Olivia sighed softly. "I know. But lately." She glanced at her son and stopped mid-sentence. "We'll talk later." Martha nodded and placed freshly made pancakes in front of Noah. As she poured maple syrup, she pretended not to notice the tension between her daughter and son-in-law. Recently, Thomas had been coming home later, and Olivia had become increasingly irritable. Martha sensed the subtle change in atmosphere between them but tried to maintain a calm demeanor, especially in front of her grandson. "I'll take Noah to daycare today," Martha changed the subject. "I'll pick him up at 3, so you can focus on your work." "That's such a help, Mom," Olivia showed a grateful smile. "Noah, have a good day at Bright Star Daycare today." "Will I see Lily?" Noah asked, his face sticky with syrup. Martha wiped around his mouth as she answered, "I'm sure you will. Lily is your friend, isn't she?" Lily was Noah's classmate, and the two had quickly become close. Lily's mother Rachel was active in the PTA, and Martha had spoken with her several times. Rachel was a refined, beautiful woman who always appeared perfectly put together. However, Martha had recently noticed that Rachel had begun treating her coldly. They used to exchange smiles and greetings, but for the past few weeks, Rachel seemed to be avoiding eye contact altogether. "Thomas, breakfast is ready." Olivia called up the stairs, but there was no answer. Martha didn't miss her daughter's disappointed expression. "He's tired. Let him sleep a little longer, Martha said gently, though a slight feeling of dissatisfaction toward her son-in-law, whom she had thought of as a son, was beginning to sprout in her heart. After breakfast, Martha drove Noah to Bright Star Daycare. This daycare center was located in a suburban residential area of Oakwood and was one of the most reputable facilities in the region. The spacious playground, bright classrooms, and, above all, the experienced childcare staff had convinced Olivia and Thomas to send Noah there. When they arrived at the daycare, Martha took Noah's hand and entered the building. It was a busy morning hour, with parents dropping off their children one after another. Martha suddenly spotted Rachel Rutherford near the entrance. She was giving Lily a goodbye kiss and whispering something in her ear. As Martha approached, Rachel visibly stiffened, gave a small nod, and hurried away. "Good morning, Mrs. Brown. Noah, you're looking energetic today." Childcare teacher Carol Jenkins greeted them with a smile. She was beloved by the children. "Good morning, Carol. Thank you for taking care of him today," Martha smiled back. Noah waved, "Bye-bye, Grandma," and immediately ran off to join his friends in the play area. On the way home, Martha checked the messages on her cell phone. There was a text from Olivia. "Mom, I need to talk to you tonight." "About Thomas." Martha sighed deeply. There seemed to be a problem after all. She said a quiet prayer, that peace would remain in the family and, above all, that her beloved grandson Noah's smile would never fade. Martha checked her watch and hurriedly parked her car in the Bright Star Daycare parking lot. It was 3 o'clock, time to pick up Noah. But today something felt off. Carol, standing at the entrance, didn't have her usual gentle smile but looked worried instead. "Mrs. Brown, I was just about to call you," Carol said in a low voice. "Noah seems to be feeling unwell today." Martha immediately followed Carol to the classroom. Noah was sitting on a couch in the corner, looking pale and downcast, quite different from his usual energetic self. "What's wrong, Noah?" "It's Grandma." Martha knelt down in front of her grandson and spoke softly. Noah lifted his head slightly and answered weakly, "My tummy hurts. He started complaining of stomach pain this afternoon and has been lying down," Carol explained. "He doesn't have a fever, but he's not his usual self." Martha put her hand on Noah's forehead and confirmed there was indeed no fever. "Thank you, Carol. I'll take him home." In the car, Noah barely spoke and slumped in the back seat. As soon as they got home, Martha laid her grandson on the sofa and covered him with a light blanket. She called Olivia to explain the situation, but the hospital must have been in a busy period because she could only leave a message. "You'll feel better after some rest," Martha said, gently stroking Noah's hair. But inside, she was worried. It was unusual for her grandson to be so lethargic. That evening, when Olivia returned home, Noah's condition had improved somewhat. He still had no appetite but was able to drink a little soup. "I wonder what he ate," Olivia asked worriedly. "Did they serve something different at daycare?" Martha shook her head. According to Carol, they had the same snacks and lunch as usual. "I think he'll be better by tomorrow." That prediction proved correct. The next morning, Noah had completely recovered and was back to his usual energetic self. Martha and Olivia were relieved, assuming it had just been a temporary upset. However, a few days later, Noah fell ill again. This time, Martha was preparing dinner when Noah suddenly ran into the kitchen, crying, "Grandma, my tummy hurts." This episode was more severe than the previous one, with Noah experiencing nausea several times. As soon as Olivia got home, she took Noah to the local pediatrician. The diagnosis was vague. It might be mild gastroenteritis. "Children often have gastrointestinal issues," the doctor said. "They're sensitive to food at this age. Give him easily digestible foods for a while and see how he does." Olivia and Martha followed the doctor's advice and paid special attention to Noah's diet. They observed him for several days, and Noah seemed to regain his energy. Children can suddenly fall ill and then just as suddenly get better, Martha told Olivia, though something didn't feel quite right to her. The following Thursday was observation day at Bright Star Daycare, when parents and grandparents could watch the daycare activities. Martha was going to attend in Olivia's place, as Olivia couldn't leave the hospital due to an emergency surgery. When Martha arrived at the daycare, many parents had already gathered. She stood in a corner of the room, smiling as she watched Noah singing in a circle with his classmates. That's when she spotted Rachel Rutherford on the opposite side of the room. Rachel was standing a little apart from the other mothers, staring intently at Martha. There was a coldness in her eyes, and the way she looked at Martha and Noah seemed to harbor some emotion, even something that could be described as hatred. Martha couldn't help but shiver. When the children's snack time came, Martha witnessed an interesting scene. Lily sat next to Noah and offered him a small package. Noah accepted it and nodded with a smile at Lily's words. Martha couldn't hear their conversation, but something about the two sharing something made her feel slightly uneasy. Carol seemed to have noticed the same scene and was frowning slightly. She walked over to Lily and said something, to which Lily innocently laughed and replied, "My mommy gave it to me," loud enough for Martha to hear. After the observation day ended, as Martha was about to leave with Noah, Carol approached her. "Mrs. Brown, do you have a moment?" When they stood a little distance away, Carol began speaking in a low voice. "I've often seen Lily giving something to Noah lately. Probably snacks, but our rules prohibit sharing brought from home snacks with other children. There are allergy concerns, you know." Martha was surprised. She was giving him something today too. "Is there a problem?" Carol seemed hesitant. "There's no direct problem yet, but I've noticed that Lily's mother, Mrs. Rutherford, has been acting differently lately. You know her, don't you?" Martha nodded. "Yes, I've spoken with her several times. But recently, it feels like she's avoiding me." "I've had the same impression," Carol frowned. "Maybe it's just a misunderstanding, but it might be good to be careful." That evening, Olivia came home late. Her face showed signs of fatigue. Thomas had not yet returned. "Mom, I need to talk to you," Olivia faced Martha in the living room after Noah had gone to bed. Her eyes were red, as if holding back tears. "What is it? What happened?" Martha took her daughter's hand. Olivia took a deep breath and said in a trembling voice, "Thomas might be having an affair." Martha gasped. "What? Why do you think that?" "He's been acting strange lately. He says he's coming home late because of work, but he doesn't answer his phone, or he takes a long time to reply to messages." Olivia continued, fighting back tears. "And last week, I saw messages from an unknown woman on his phone. The content was, clearly not just a friendly relationship." Martha hugged her daughter tightly. "Have you asked him about it?" Olivia shook her head. "I'm scared, Mom. If it's true, for Noah's sake, I want to protect this family." Martha didn't know what to say. She had trusted Thomas and thought he was a good husband and father. But his recent behavior was certainly suspicious. Late that night, Martha heard Thomas coming home. Olivia had already secluded herself in the bedroom. But as Martha was drinking tea in the kitchen, she suddenly heard Noah crying. Martha rushed to her grandson's room. "My tummy hurts so bad." Noah was crying, his face contorted with pain. This time the pain was clearly more intense than before. He was curled up, moaning in agony. Martha, Olivia, and Thomas hurriedly took Noah to the emergency room in the middle of the night. After examination, the doctor diagnosed it as another gastrointestinal disturbance, but Noah needed to receive N4. In the hospital waiting room, Martha remembered Rachel's cold stare and the scene of Lily handing something to Noah. And Carol's words came to mind, it might be good to be careful. Martha gazed into the darkness outside the window. An uneasy premonition began to cloud her heart. A week passed. Noah's condition had stabilized, and he had regained his energy, but the anxiety in Martha's heart hadn't disappeared. The relationship between Olivia and Thomas remained tenuous. Thomas had denied his wife's suspicions, explaining that his recent late homecomings were due to approaching deadlines for a major project. Olivia seemed to accept his words, but shadows of doubt remained in her eyes. As Martha was watering the roses in her garden, her cell phone suddenly began ringing in her pocket. Looking at the screen, she saw Bright Star Daycare displayed. She answered with some surprise. "Hello, this is Martha Brown." "Mrs. Brown." Carol's voice was hurried, with clear panic in her tone. "Noah had a sudden seizure during nap time. Please come quickly." The blood drained from Martha's face. "A seizure? I'll come right away." "What about an ambulance?" "We've already called one. It just arrived." "Have you contacted Olivia?" "Not yet. I thought you should know first." "I understand. I'll head over right away." As soon as she hung up, Martha threw down her gardening tools and rushed into the house. She grabbed her car keys and wallet and dashed out the front door. Her mind had gone blank. Only the thought that she needed to hurry to Noah's side was driving her body forward. While driving, she called Olivia. Fortunately, she answered right away. "Mom. What's wrong?" Olivia's voice came through the phone. "Olivia, the daycare called to say Noah had a sudden seizure. An ambulance is there." "I'm on my way now." Martha tried to remain calm, but her voice was shaking. On the other end of the line, Martha heard Olivia's breath catch. "What?" "I'm going right now." "Mom, please, if anything happens to Noah." Her voice broke with tears. "It's going to be all right. I'll be with him. You hurry too." Martha had to resist the urge to run red lights as she drove to the daycare. She arrived in less than 10 minutes, a journey that normally took 15. An ambulance was parked in front of the daycare, with several childcare workers standing outside looking worried. Martha jumped out of the car on trembling legs and rushed into the building. Just then, paramedics were moving Noah on a stretcher down the hallway. Noah's small body was motionless, his face pale, with an oxygen mask attached. "Noah!" Martha cried out and hurried to her grandson's side. "It's okay, Grandma's here." One of the paramedics turned to her. "Are you his grandmother?" "Your grandson is stable, but we're taking him to the hospital for a detailed examination. You're welcome to ride along if you'd like." Martha nodded and grasped Noah's cold hand with her trembling one. At that moment, Carol approached, crying. "Mrs. Brown, I'm so sorry." During nap time, suddenly, her voice broke with tears. Then, with shaking hands, she handed Martha a USB drive. "This is footage from our surveillance camera, please watch it," she said in a low voice. Her eyes reflected fear and concern. Martha took the USB, confused, but tucked it into her pocket. Right now, her grandson's life was the priority. She climbed into the ambulance and, holding Noah's hand tightly, began to pray quietly. "It's okay, Noah. Grandma's here with you," she whispered in a trembling voice. The ambulance headed to the city hospital with its siren blaring. Upon arrival, Noah was immediately taken to the pediatric emergency department, where doctors promptly began treatment. Martha waited in the waiting room, shaking. She had also contacted Thomas, who said he was on his way to the hospital. About 20 minutes later, Olivia rushed into the hospital, breathless. She was still in her nurse's uniform, having clearly left work in a hurry. "Mom! How's Noah?" Her voice trembled with fear. "The doctors are examining him. The seizure seems to have stopped, but... Just then, a doctor in a white coat appeared in the waiting room. "Are you the Brown family?" Olivia and Martha stood up and hurried over to the doctor. "I'm his mother. Is my son okay?" Olivia asked desperately. "Your child's condition is stable," the doctor answered in a calm voice. "The seizure has subsided, and he's beginning to regain consciousness. Our tests indicate it was an allergic reaction. He may have eaten something he's not usually given. In particular, we suspect a strong allergen like peanuts." Martha and Olivia looked at each other. "But Noah having allergies?" Olivia said, looking confused. "Sometimes children's allergies appear suddenly when they first encounter a strong allergen," the doctor explained. "Once we get Noah's blood test results, we'll know more. Right now, we're treating him with 4 fluids and antihistamines. I think he'll be able to go home in a few hours." The two women sighed with relief at the doctor's words. However, a different question was forming in Martha's mind. She remembered the USB drive in her pocket. "Can we see him?" Olivia asked. "Of course. He's still a bit drowsy, so please keep it quiet," the doctor said with a smile. Thomas arrived at the hospital 10 minutes later. He rushed in, sweating, and embraced Olivia. "Noah. Is he all right?" "He's stable," Olivia answered in her husband's arms. "It seems to have been an allergic reaction." As Martha watched her son-in-law, whom she had thought of as a son, she felt a strange sensation rising in her chest. His concern appeared genuine. But thinking about the USB drive Carol had given her, she couldn't shake the feeling that some great mystery was hidden here. While Olivia and Thomas were in Noah's hospital room, Martha remained in the hospital lobby. She took out her laptop from her bag and inserted the USB drive. The screen showed footage from the daycare surveillance camera. Looking at the date, it seemed to be from this morning. The video captured the pre-lunch snack time. Children were gathered around small tables, with a teacher distributing fruit and small cookies. Martha spotted Noah. He was talking to Lily, who sat next to him, with his usual bright smile. And then it happened. The footage showed Lily taking something out of her bag and offering it to Noah. "It's a special cookie, but it's a secret," Lily's voice could be clearly heard. Noah, with a curious expression, accepted it and put it in his mouth. Martha stared at the screen in silence. And then, she noticed an adult figure standing in the corner of the footage. It was Rachel Rutherford. She seemed to be visiting the classroom as an observer. What froze Martha's blood was seeing Rachel looking in Lily's direction and giving a small nod. She had instructed Lily to do something and was watching as Lily fed it to Noah. Martha gasped. This wasn't just children sharing snacks. Something had been planned. With trembling hands, she took out her cell phone and called the police. The police arrived at the hospital about 20 minutes after Martha's call. Veteran female detective Linda Carter and young male detective Michael Jensen quietly began talking with Martha outside Noah's hospital room. "May we see the footage?" Detective Linda asked in a calm but firm tone. Martha opened her laptop and played the footage from the USB drive. The detectives watched in silence, and both exchanged glances, particularly at the scene where Lily gave something to Noah and where Rachel was observing in the background. "This definitely needs investigation," Linda said with a serious expression. "Has your grandson's test results come back yet?" "Not yet. But the doctor said it was an allergic reaction," Martha answered. Just then, a doctor in a white coat approached. "Mrs. Brown, we have the test results. Noah shows a strong allergic reaction to peanuts. Peanut protein was detected in his system." Martha gasped. "But we've never given him peanuts." Neither Olivia nor Thomas would have known he had allergies. Allergies can manifest when a person first comes into contact with a strong allergen, the doctor explained. However, judging from the video, there's a possibility it was deliberately given to him. Based on the footage and the doctor's testimony, the police immediately began their investigation. Detective Michael headed to Bright Star Daycare to gather more evidence, while Detective Linda went to Rachel Rutherford's home to make contact with her. When Olivia and Thomas were informed of the situation, they were severely shocked. Olivia, in particular, turned pale at the fact that her son might have been deliberately put in danger. But why? What reason would Mrs. Rutherford have to hurt Noah? Olivia asked in a trembling voice. Martha hugged her daughter tightly and replied, I don't know. But the police will uncover the truth. However, in her heart, one possibility had already emerged. The woman Thomas was having an affair with, could it be Rachel? Hours later, Detective Linda returned to the hospital. Her expression was stern, indicating she had made a significant discovery. Rachel Rutherford initially denied it, but when confronted with the video evidence, she admitted to instructing her daughter Lily to feed Noah cookies containing peanuts, she reported quietly. How terrible. Martha's voice caught. But why? Detective Linda took a deep sigh. She says, it was me. I only told Lily that giving Noah a special cookie would make them friends. My daughter knows nothing. Olivia and Martha looked at each other, trembling. But Detective Linda wasn't finished. And when we investigated her cell phone, we found inappropriate message exchanges with Thomas Bradshaw. A heavy silence fell over the room. Tears flowed from Olivia's eyes. Thomas covered his face with his hands and lowered his gaze to the floor. Thomas, is it true? Olivia's voice was thin and trembling. Thomas couldn't lift his head and only gave a small nod. He will now be formally questioned at the police station, Detective Linda continued. To clarify all aspects of this case. That evening, Thomas was questioned at the police station. He confessed to having been in an adulterous relationship with Rachel for several months. In the interrogation room, he covered his face and cried. I tried to end the relationship. I told her I wanted to cherish my family. But I never thought she would hurt my son, Thomas said in a trembling voice. Meanwhile, in another room, Rachel stated during her interrogation, he promised he would be with me. I wanted to destroy Olivia's family. However, according to her testimony, she had become resentful when Thomas recently tried to end the relationship and targeted Noah as revenge. But to harm a child? Detective Linda said in a stern tone. Did you know the risks? Rachel answered through tears, do you understand how badly he hurt me? I was serious, but he said things like I want to cherish my family. Her voice was mixed with anger and despair. But I didn't think Noah would really be in danger. I thought he would just feel a little sick, and Olivia would be troubled. The police also gently spoke with Lily. Sobbing, Lily innocently answered, Mommy said to give him a special cookie. I like Noah and just wanted to be friends. Tests confirmed that Noah's peanut allergy was severe. The doctor warned, although prompt treatment prevented serious consequences this time, if there's a similar exposure in the future, he could show a more severe reaction. Rachel was arrested on charges of intentional injury and child abuse. The daycare center was also investigated for supervisory negligence, particularly for failing to monitor suspicious behavior on parent observation day. While Martha and Olivia were grateful that Noah hadn't been seriously harmed, they were deeply hurt by the betrayal in a place they had trusted. Olivia, especially, couldn't accept her husband's betrayal and said, crying in the hospital lobby, I don't want to see Thomas's face. That night, Noah was permitted to be discharged and was taken to Martha's house. Although Thomas was released by the police, at Olivia's request, he returned to his parents' home. I trusted you. But because of you, my son was in danger, Olivia said coldly as they parted. I can't think about anything right now. I need some distance. Thomas couldn't say anything in response and just nodded. His expression showed regret and self-loathing. As Martha welcomed her daughter and grandson into her home, she thought about this family's future. Damaged trust is not easily repaired. But for now, she felt she should focus on the immediate reality, ensuring her beloved grandson's safety and healing her daughter's wounded heart. A month after the incident, in late November, the view of falling leaves in the garden was visible from Martha's window. Drinking her morning coffee, she quietly gazed at the scenery outside. Olivia and Noah had been living in her house since the incident. Breaking the morning silence, the sound of Noah running down the stairs echoed. "Grandma, will I see Daddy today?" Martha smiled and gently stroked her grandson's hair. "Yes, Daddy is coming at noon." Thomas had been visiting Noah twice a week. Although there was still a wall between him and Olivia, he was trying hard to fulfill his responsibilities as a father. He had also begun counseling, facing his mistakes. "Is Daddy a bad person?" Noah asked one day, leaving Olivia speechless. Martha remembers gently answering, "Daddy made a mistake, but he loves you." As she was preparing breakfast, Olivia entered the kitchen. She had been on leave but was planning to return to work next week. "Mom, I got a call from the court yesterday," Olivia said while pouring coffee. "It seems Rachel's sentence has been decided." Rachel Rutherford was found guilty in court and was sentenced to probation, community service, and mandatory psychological counseling. In court, she had stated in a trembling voice, "I was controlled by my emotions and hurt an innocent child. I do not deserve forgiveness." Lily had gone to live with her father and had transferred to a new daycare. Noah had also started attending a new daycare and was gradually returning to normalcy. That afternoon, Martha encountered Lily and her father at the supermarket. At first, Lily shyly hid behind her father when she saw Martha, but soon gathered courage and approached. "Is Noah okay?" she asked innocently. She had no awareness of having hurt her friend, she was just sad that she couldn't play with Noah anymore. Lily's father bowed deeply and apologized, "My daughter knew nothing. I'm so sorry." "I understand," Martha answered kindly. Lily did nothing wrong. When she returned home, Thomas was playing with Noah in the living room. Olivia kept some distance, pretending to read a magazine, but Martha noticed her occasionally watching the two. Thomas deeply regretted his infidelity and betrayal of his family and had repeatedly asked Olivia for forgiveness. "I want to get my family back," he had said. Though Olivia still couldn't open her heart to him, she hadn't completely closed the door either. Martha suffered from guilt for not being able to protect her grandson and from self-reproach for not detecting the situation earlier. One day, Noah asked, "Grandma, is it okay to forgive Lily's mom?" Noah continued, "Lily is my friend. She's not a bad kid." That innocent question made Martha reflect on the meaning of a true family. One weekend morning, a letter arrived in the mailbox. It was a letter from Rachel to Martha. "Even if I can never be forgiven, I want to convey my heartfelt apology," it read. As Martha read the letter, she felt the difficulty of forgiveness and, at the same time, its necessity. The following Sunday, Martha took Noah to the park. The autumn sunshine was pleasant, and they sat on a bench by the lake, watching ducks gather to feed on the bread they offered. On the next bench sat Lily and her father. The two children played at a distance, but occasionally exchanged smiles. Martha thought with a smile, "Blood ties alone don't make a family. The bonds that care for and protect each other are what make a true family." And she reminded herself, forgiving and forgetting are different. Perhaps true atonement is acknowledging mistakes, taking responsibility, and still striving to move forward. Watching Noah smile, Martha was beginning to accept a new form of family. The damaged bonds might be repaired over time. It wouldn't be an easy journey, but she could see hope.